I'm the marketing associate. My name's James Getty. Like Jeff saying, I've been here 7 years at MSI, so I've seen the company grow from, it was a mom and pop company, I'm sure just like Hedberg, to being $1.4 billion in sales. We have a really nice exposure for all the surface products that you need, whether it be hardscape, interior countertops, mosaics, all types of products that we sell here. MSI is a company that just doesn't sell hardscape, but for this point of this presentation, we'll talk about hardscape products primarily. We have this big mission statement, but ideally, we want to provide products that are affordable and accessible. We value engineer a lot of our products to Turkey, Asia, to get these products at a price point that are affordable to the end user. MSI is committed to producing our customers with a diverse assortment of affordable and accessible flooring, countertops, wall tile, luxury vinyl tile, and hardscaping products from around the world. MSI team focuses on developing, sourcing, and distributing products that are innovative and affordable to the end customer, the end consumer. So again, we deal with a lot of companies outside, countries outside the U.S. like Brazil or Mexico and Asia. I know right now some of our products that are moving real fast, with the coronavirus, like we're going to feel a little bit of a setback with some of our production, but with Porcelain Pavers, I know that's something we want to talk about. So if you have jobs coming up and you're like, hey, I need this product by such and such date, if you're dialed into a certain product, we need to communicate effectively. We have great resources with our import teams. If for products not in stock, we can tell you logistically where it is on the water or where it is at the factory. If it's in Italy or Spain or Asia or Turkey, we want to be able to communicate to you so you can let your contractor know and developer know when to expect that product, because we don't want to leave you with not knowing certain things. You have all the access to our information. Like you can be set up on a B2B access here at Hedberg, where you can actually see our inventory, our live inventory, any of our products. So it's kind of a resource that you see what we see. Again, we have so many different locations throughout the country. It says 25 distribution centers, and I know we've grown within the past year. This slide shows like various parts of the world that we do business with, whether it be Brazil or Europe, there's Italy and Asia, and Turkey. It's really a global company. So the 1.4 billion, the owners, Manu and Rika Shah, came from India in the mid-70s, and Manu wanted to pursue his mechanical engineering degree from Purdue, and his wife was just kind of hustling, selling monuments and headstones from her garage to support the family, and she was doing pretty well, and she came across a job that required the black polished granite with like a mirrored-like surface. It was a controversial project at the time, and she ended up landing it, and it turned out to be the Vietnam Memorial in DC, and that kind of like set MSI in motion, where Manu kind of pivoted at that point and said, I'm going to start to import stone from India and different parts of the country or the world to satisfy whatever jobs are out there. And it really spoke volumes that the products that we use in the United States don't always have to be domestic. And so it kind of fast forward to now. So now there's 25 distribution centers. I know that number has grown. So of course we have Minneapolis, Chicago, stuff on the, well, it's kind of blurry, but let me change this slide. Atlanta, Baltimore, Boston, Long Island, Charlotte, everything on the East Coast. There's so many different warehouses. Houston, Dallas. In California alone, we have about 5 San Diego, Los Angeles, Orange County, San Francisco. I think we've been setting up one in San Jose. So there's always an opportunity to get products. If we can't find them here within our local branches, we can always transfer them around to get you the products in a quick amount of time. I think right now, we're trying to continue to develop this market. You guys have such a knowledge of, your customer base with your architects. If there's stuff that you see that we don't carry, if you want to let us know, convey it to Mike, let us know. There might be, a product that's, your customer needs specifically that we can source. And we'll kind of get to that on a slide. Like if you have a special commercial project that requires X stone from Italy or Brazil, and you're competing against somebody locally, and that's the only source, and their price point is like $15 a square foot, but we could value engineer it, source it from one of our factories or whatever for $7, let's say, and can make you some money and save the customer some money. Perhaps you could give us that opportunity.
One of the things before we move on, that last slide that you saw, what MSI has done is they've gone to kind of a spoke and wheel distribution approach. Here in the Midwest, our main warehouse is actually in New Jersey. And there's 5 loads a week, dedicated truck trailer loads that go into our Chicago regional center. From there, we get 3-4 dedicated loads up here in Minneapolis. What that means to you is we can, in the past, there was a huge issue with breakage and demurrage and all that. Well, that's all gone away with this new system we put in place. And with the fact that we've got 32 distribution centers across the country. So we can react pretty quick to what you need. The days of, I'm going to have something imported and it's sitting on sea for 90 days, those are pretty much in the past. But we can respond just to any demand within 2 weeks.
I think that's critical too. Like I said, like on the porcelain pavers, or Mike said on porcelain pavers, if you're looking for something for a job and you're like, God, my guy needs it in 3 weeks, and we tell you, well, we have a container, it'll be here in 60 days. We could, call a different branch, whether it be Georgia or Houston, and if they have that product in stock, we could move it right in a couple of weeks. So to kind of align with you, and we could reach out to Mike and find out, the actual ETA. We're really good on that. I think that's one of our strong points is, our logistics. We have like a team, a company within a company that just does logistics and communicates with all these branches and all the places overseas to make sure that the information is accurate. So MSI, for the $1.4 billion in sales, there's an assortment of products, whether it be the countertops or flooring, backsplashes, and hardscaping. I mean, we do 100 million in hardscaping, and it's like not even 1/10 of the pie. So there's so much that MSI has to offer. It employs over 1,800 employees, 5 million square feet of warehouse space throughout the country, 125 million square feet of inventory. In addition, we offer 5,000 plus products. 5,000 SKUs, it's a lot. I'm sure at Hedberg you probably have 5,000 alone, so you can kind of relate to that. And I encourage you to go to the showroom if you haven't been to the showroom. Here, it's kind of like a wow factor for customers when they see like the enormity of the operation and the displays and the whole professionalism of the company. It can be a selling point whether they want a countertop or flooring. If you're there to show them hardscaping, but you can kind of get the whole mix of products. I think that's critical, so they can feel that this is not just a little small-time operation, and kind of manage their expectations. If they like a certain product but they have to wait 3 weeks, they know that we can come through for them. Of course, in the hardscaping department, the products that I market, we have natural stone pavers, Arterra porcelain pavers, stacked stone, natural stone, ledger veneer, copings, veneers, and pebbles. We had a pretty good run a couple years ago with Hedberg, doing a lot of porcelain pavers and natural stone as well. There's so many different sizes and aspects of natural stone, whether it be travertine or marble. There's a little bit for everyone. If there's, I saw an order where maybe this year, last year, you guys did 18 by 18 pavers, and that's kind of like unique. In California, people don't, just want an 18 by 18. They may want a 24 by 24, or a 12 by 24, or 16 by 24. So it's kind of critical you go to the website too. It'll list a lot of information. So if you want a specific product and you're like, I didn't know they carried a 6 by 12 coping, I might do that in Arizona, not so much in Minnesota, but that doesn't mean I can't get you that product. Specifically if you have a commercial job or something where we have some time to move it. Believe it or not, we do about $15 million in pebbles across the country. So if there's an opportunity for us in pebbles, we can talk about that. We're bringing stuff in from India right now. We can bring it in a super sack or bagged form without like having a big price fluctuation. The bagged product of our pebbles is like a 40-pound bag. Again, we sell like $15 million of that throughout the country. I don't think that's an avenue we pursue here.
What do you do with pebbles now? We're talking about a pebble.
Yeah, a pebble. So it could be like an inch to 2 inch or 3/4 inch, half inch. I have polished pebbles from Asia. They come in a black or a mixed.
Where are you putting it? What are you doing?
A lot of them go into what the waterscape designs.
Oh,
Yeah, it's interior or exterior. I mean, I see like
Interior or
sushi
exterior.
bars with like that fancy black polished pebble, or exterior. I mean, with the big money that happens, in any state, California, we have like the West Side, and people spend $20 on a bag of pebbles, and they buy, a pallet of it. Retail for that polished pebble, it's like $20 on the West Side, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. Whether it be on the East Coast, you got the Hamptons, these areas that people, have a little bit, larger, budgets for landscape. So that polished pebble that comes from Asia, it's sold in like nurseries on the West Coast. We have the chain called Armstrong's, and they sell this. But we also have kind of like an entry-level pebble. It's unpolished from India. It's in a 40-pound sack, and that's the one that we really do a lot of damage with. It's comes like a buffed color or tan color, and then we have a charcoal color. We have a mixed color, so it ranges from like a 3 cm to a 6 cm, which means 1.25 inches to like 2 inch or 3 inch. So it's a new product on the mixed pebble from India. It's, like I said, we're bringing it in bulk and in bag form. So it could be, if you're pitching a nursery, or you have customers, you guys have a nursery yourself, right? Out here in Hedberg, I thought I saw that on the website. They actually have a nursery, but that's an item that's, again, my guys look at us and say we sell 15 million, but there's not a huge penetration over here with that product. So something I want to talk about. I have pictures in a separate slide to show you. Natural stone pavers are, before porcelain came along, was like one of our bread and butter for flooring for outdoor. Usually comes in that 3 cm thickness, and a variety of sizes and colors. And it says right here, emphasize full line of stone hardscape products include pavers, copings, stacked stones, veneers, cobbles, pebbles, stepping stones, and pool tile. So when we come to pavers, we do everything from marble to travertine to granite, and even sandstones. Of course, for us, we always identify like the 3 top selling colors of pavers are going to be beige, walnut, and silver. Those seem to be like the 3 most productive. Again, I was talking to Mike, we have 20 different colors probably of pavers. You have some wild colors like scabas. It has like a orangey kind of color, like a vulgar display of wealth. It's kind of out there. It's kind of like a Picasso. You have this, someone wants like a Mediterranean look, some wild color. We have that. The pavers and copings come in different sizes. The thickness on the pavers is usually 3 cm, 1.25 inches. and those are sold primarily in the Versailles pattern. It's like a French pattern. Sometimes I think it's kind of outdated, but it has like a 16 by 24, 16 by 16, an 8 by 8, and an 8 by 16. Did I say that? 4 sizes. And it's sold in full pallet quantities. So Hedberg was doing pretty good. I thought we were selling some silver pavers, Travertine pavers from time to time. So silver, it's not the least expensive, but it's one of the most popular because it has a contemporary look. You know, the grays is still really popular. And so we have like a lot of coordinating products that go with that gray, whether it be a stack stone or a coping, or a floor tile. You know, we have like a team in India that actually goes through how many clicks on the website are done. And, you know, people gravitate to grays. So the more clicks on grays, the more people are interested in grays, whether it be the homeowner or an architect. We're going to continue to source those products. I know earth tones still have, you know, a place in this market for, you know, the beiges and the walnuts. So we'll continue to stock those products as well. On copings, I know Hedberg buys copings. So on the pool copings, they come in a 2-inch thickness. And those typically come in a 12 by 24 size, 12 by 24 or 16 by 24. Do you guys do with the pool copings for steps or anything like that? Do you have any work with like pool contractors or anything like that?
Actually did a coping last year.
Around the pool? You know Hedberg stocks that, right? Or they can get that if you need that. Any type of coping. So if there's a certain color that you need, if you go to our website, you'll find a tab with like an assortment of colors. So customers like, yeah, I need this cream color limestone. I saw that such and such. You know, I don't have this on the slide, but you can go to our website and find all the various colors. One thing that kind of took off, and it surprised me, was this program called a Mountain Bluestone. Pennsylvania Bluestone was such a big thing for such a long time. And I know it still is, and even on the West Coast, we move a lot of bluestone. But lo and behold, in Asia, you know, Mother Nature gave them this bluestone that's super dense, and we call it Mountain Bluestone. I've been to Jersey and Virginia and Baltimore, and they import this Asian bluestone also. So it's kind of like a hybrid where it's more of like a deep charcoal color, and the product that we're bringing in is flamed. So the product that's coming from Pennsylvania or New York, the bluestone over there, when you flame it, and that cost, the extra labor, the price point gets really jacked up. We're able to source it in multiple sizes on Pavers, so we include a 10 kit, which has the various sizes of like 16 by 24 and 16 by 16. But we also source different sizes like 12 by 24, or if you just want a 24 by 24. It's a product that I thought didn't have a place, but I guess in Pennsylvania, people, you know, were sourcing the land for gas, you know, for natural gas, and they weren't really coring as much bluestone. So I don't know if there was a little bit of a shortage, but from a price standpoint, the bluestone from Asia is a little bit more competitive than the blue that's coming from Pennsylvania, at least in California. I know logistically in the East Coast, you could probably get it, you know, for much less than California. But it surprised me that Asian bluestone was being imported on the East Coast. So that might be a product you could be interested in. We've done the freeze-thaw testing on it. It comes in different thicknesses, whether it be 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And we do the copings as well. So 16 by 24 or 12 by 24. And the guys in Jersey are crazy, so they want caps to go on top of the pilasters or the wall caps in various sizes, from 36 by 36 to 24 by 24 to 30 by 30. And one of the big things that we got into were treads. Like, that's big on the East Coast as well. We don't use them that much in California, but all these various sizes of treads. Do you guys use treads out here by chance?
I've never done it.
Yeah, you do a lot, right? So these treads, if something that you're not familiar with, we can talk about it. They have rock face edges on them if you want three sides rock face or only one side. These various lengths and widths, whether it be 12 by 72 or 12 by 96, 24 by 96. And I know certain contractors like to use a specific type of that, the length and width of that particular tread, and that's all they want. So if you have a contractor that's primarily interested in one product, let us know and we can bring that in for you. A granite program that we're starting to introduce in Boston. These guys have said that that market really has a demand for granite. They love the granite out in Boston. So we're bringing in a new product with a different thickness of 1 inch and an 1/18. So it's almost like 3 cm. And we're bringing in treads and slabs. And this kind of leads me to the point where, if there's a certain product here that you're selling a lot of and, you're not particularly fond of the sourcing or upset with the vendor or you need, some more competitive pricing, let us know. There could be an opportunity on a special project or a job project. If you're working in a commercial job and they're like, these are the specs on this job, can you get them for me? It's something that we do pretty well. So this is a new look, new product. It looks like it's sandblasted too, which gives it a little bit more texture. And again, on direct full container options, MSI got its start by doing these containers. We do about 50,000 containers a year. I don't know, it's not the number I probably used last year. Maybe I used 45,000. It's more than Costco. 50,000 containers. It's like we're basically a volume discount wholesaler. But if you have a project that requires, 4 containers of, silver travertine or some type of sandstone, let us know. I mean, we can shrink down the cost of that particular product because you're buying in volume, and basically we're just like a broker. We'll order the product for you, ship it to you, and shrink down the cost so you can make more commission on that particular product. We really want to talk about displays. I know my boss is like so critical on displays. So if there's stuff that we need to do here to improve, I'll be all in. We can offer to any of your customers or yourself, if you want to have any of these metal A-frame displays or pool coping displays or Arterra displays, let us know. We'll be happy to provide them to you. So one of the main reasons I came out was to talk about porcelain pavers. And we all have our opinions about porcelain. And initially, I thought, what are we doing? And I thought our hardscape department, when I started 7 years ago, was just going to be about natural stone. But we go where the money is. And we pivoted to porcelain pavers a few years ago. And there was certain companies like Belgard that went through Mirage that kind of got bloody, knocking down the doors and doing all the marketing and merchandising. The price points were so high. It became like only a product for the rich. So our brand of porcelain pavers is called Arterra. So right out of the gate, MSI's Arterra collection offers countless design options. Crafted from durable porcelain, these all-weather restraint tiles can be used for both indoor and outdoor living spaces. I find that indoor a little puzzling, but primarily outdoor. So we have about 32 colors right now in the portfolio, and we're going to add a new kind of like a limestone look with kind of like shells and kind of like a little bit more unique design, a little bit more boutique oriented. We sold, I think, a couple million our first year in porcelain, and second year maybe 7 or 8 million. And we found that this is a real big item in the marketplace, so we should be all in. Last year we did about 12, $13 million worth of porcelain pavers. So it's really trending up. It's like 75% growth rate on porcelain. And it's not a product that's going away. If anything, there's more people jumping into the market to make it more competitively priced. So it's almost turning into a commodity where, there's manufacturing going on in the States now to try to shrink down the freight. There's companies all over that will, present this product. We're trying to stay ahead of the game and manufacture colors that customers want, whether they be grays or earth tones. There's going to be a lot of unique colors. Hedberg did really well a couple years ago. We're selling hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of porcelain pavers. So I know you guys know that there's a market for it. We can talk about kind of the positives and the negatives about it. When we talk about porcelain pavers, one of the main things is because of the low maintenance. It's easy to clean. I've been to job sites where, people say it stains. And sometimes what happens is like they'll install the porcelain paver, and then on the grout joint, when they put the polymeric sand and they're cleaning it, they're kind of just swishing around that polymer. And even though it looks clean, when it dries, there's kind of like a haze on top of it. And I've had to go to a job site every now and again and just, use a powder form of, it's called like a barkeeper's friend. Kind of remove that top haze. It's like I had a call from a guy and he was saying he was barbecuing and his porcelain pavers were stained. And I'm like, well, if you got them and they weren't stained, but now they're stained, something's going on here. And I found out, I went with a rep from a polymer company, the sand company, and he's saying, yeah, when he was cleaning or when he's wiping off the polymeric sand, he was kind of moving around the liquid and it kind of dried on top. And then when the customer was cooking it, stained the top portion of the paver, but it wasn't the paver, it was actually the polymer working as a glue. And so it was easily removed. So when you come across situations that, on a porcelain, if you're saying it's stain resistant, but my guy's saying it's stained, let us know. I mean, has anyone come across that before at all? On the stain issue?
I got a comment. This old house, that's a good one because they had an old tile guy. They were doing tile in the bathroom, and he used sawdust to do that what you were talking about, to polish that,
Sure.
to get the haze off of it.
Right.
Use sawdust.
That's a good option too. Sometimes like this is such like a new, area for us. Like some of these problems that pop up are new. They're just like the first time out. So that's something I actually went with a guy from Customs that said he'd come across this problem before. But that's something I will write down as well. We're saying the strength of the porcelain pavers makes them superior. They're slip resistant. If you go to the website, we have test data that shows the DCOF, the dynamic coefficient of friction. We want to sell them to all the pool builders in California and Arizona. And, when people come into my showroom in California and they have, little kids and they're trying to put the porcelain pavers around the pool and they're trying to feel if they're gritty or not, if they're slippery. And I say they all pass the dynamic coefficient of friction. But at the end of the day, I want the customer to feel safe. If he feels they're too slippery, I want to allow him to make that decision. But the testing has all been done on all these products. And we're actually starting to manufacture the pavers now with grit, like on all the surface, all the pavers. There's going to be a grit to them. So I think that's going to be helpful. So even though they pass the testing and some say, oh, it still feels slippery, when they feel that textured surface and it won't change the photo on that print, I think it'll actually be an improvement. We talk about a high wear rating. We talk about UV resistant, and we talk about freeze thaw resistant. I've personally done the testing for freeze thaw. So I know in climates such as yours, you worry about things like that. Porcelain pavers have a water absorption of less than 1%. So water cannot penetrate the paver. So it avoids the issues of freeze-thaw cracking, which can be a problem in certain climate zones. I know I hear it from everywhere from Colorado to Jersey to Virginia, and we sell quite a bit, throughout the country, in the cold climates, in Chicago. And I've yet to have one phone call where someone says they cracked, honestly. Either that or they're getting the wrong number, I don't know. But honestly, here's my freeze-thaw test from TCNA, Tile Council of North America. We send them 5 samples, and we do the 300 cycle freeze-thaw. I didn't cheat myself. I didn't go for 100 cycles or 50 cycles. Went for the 300 cycles. And so the test methods, they evaluate for damage. And after the test, there was no evidence of cracking, disintegration, spalling, and there's no way I could fabricate such a report. This is all data from TCNA, and they're going to tell me what the paver does. Some of the best sellers for here at for us at MSI, the grays are so popular. You have that brochure that kind of shows you some of the colors. Quartzo gray has a gritty type surface, and that's one of the best sellers of porcelain pavers for us. Another color is Beton gray. Another color is Prior gray. Prior gray is a color that is unique for MSI. To MSI, it's like a marble type of countertop that we photographed and sent to the factory to manufacture. Taj Mahal was like one of the best selling slabs. I know last year in my presentation I showed Paul Simon's house. He actually did it in the Hamptons. It's a product, again, unique to MSI, and we have it in 24 by 24. We actually developed a 16 by 32 as well of that product. And below that, you have some beiges, some cream, some earth tones, and the list goes on and on. So like the correlation that Hedberg sales last year, they sold 6 orders of Quartzo gray. They sold 7 orders of Beton gray, so it could be identified that the top selling colors are colors that you've actually sold and customers have wanted. So whether it be an architectural thing or a customer thing, when they see these grays, that's the colors they gravitate to, and that's what our data shows. It's kind of like we cannot have enough grays, I guess. We have a multicolored. There's some more grays. Argento Travertino, that's also a gray. So back in 2019, that's the slide there. In 2018, we had some really nice jobs of that living style cream. I think it was like a $30,000 worth of that product that was sold. And I'd like to get back to those numbers someday. It's really, that living style cream is manufactured from Italy, and it's like a little bit more dense. So I don't know if that product that you put in that kind of rotunda or that circular thing was Italian or if it was a Turkish. It was from Italy. The Italian one is a little bit higher price point, but it's a little bit more dense, so that made it more difficult to cut, right? It's a little bit, you kind of get what you pay for with the Italians on that. A Quartzo gray, again, has that texture type surface. I'm going to show you a slide of that right now. But I just wanted to show you like the kind of products that you're selling here in porcelain pavers. I know Hedberg has our porcelain pavers, a handful of them listed on the website as well. And there's a link to our whole color, all our choices on the Hedberg website. So if there's something here that is missing, let us know. The porcelain pavers, again, they're taking off so much that we have to increase the amount of selection available. Our competitors are doing rectangles. We talked about rectangles, 16 by 32s and 18 by 36s. Those are only available in a few colors, all indicated in the brochures and the flyers and on the website. If you're not sure and you call Mike and he's like, let me call James, let me find out if that's available. There's, I know Quartzo gray is not available in a plank or a rectangle yet. That could be coming soon. We have wood plank looks that are 16 by 47. Those are it says 3 new 16 by 47s. Those are coming from Spain. And the 12 by 48s are actually a pretty good seller as well. And copings, we have coordinating copings. They're not an exact match on the pavers. And it's a different factory that we use for the copings. A factory in Italy that does the copings, even though we tell them the exact color matches that we need, and they're trying to match it up perfectly, and it's kind of the same raw materials, it's hard to get it like an identical match. And in the tile world, they'll tell you the bull nose, when it's produced separately, is harder to match exactly. But we're bringing in copings. It's something that our competitors may not have, or if they have, there's a large lead times. But we want you to know that we have those copings. So yeah, every paver kind of has a story. The Argento Travertino, the natural stone look, has we try to emulate a silver travertine. So if a customer's looking at a silver travertine paver, but they don't want that, if they're saying, oh, it's a headache, I don't want to clean it, I don't want it to deteriorate. I like the fact that there's a lifetime warranty on color fading on the porcelain. What do you have in a silver travertine look? It's a selling point that if you know that that's available, something you can kind of push your customer towards if they're not interested in the natural stone. Argento's like a copy of a silver travertine. Have the Bluestone, a Bluestone look that comes from Spain. It's sold in a 24 by 24 or a pattern, and it has like a textured type of surface as well. Fossil Snow is a pattern of a gray color with a mica in it. It also comes from Spain. It's kind of a real unique look. I haven't seen it in that pattern form with another competitor. Golden White is like an earth tone. One of the most popular products at MSI was Golden White. We couldn't have enough of Golden White. Golden White tiles, Golden White mosaics, Golden White ledger panels. So we developed a Golden White paver. We've got some flagstone pieces, about 12 pieces of the best colors. We sent them to the factory to photograph with high resolution photos and high jet ink printing to produce these pavers. So on that, you could have like maybe 13, 14 different faces of that particular tile. And it's interesting because in the pieces in the box, you might see some repetitive pieces, and the customer says, hey, I want the darker pieces. The customer, needs to know, there's multiple faces in that particular color. And when the contractor is doing the job, he might need to shuffle the pieces, kind of dry lay the job, and kind of get an idea before he puts dark, 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 light, 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 medium, 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 kind of need to shuffle the pieces around. Going through like more Italian pieces, the Living Style Beige, Living Style Cream, and Living Style Pearl, all from Italy. The factory sends us the pavers in their own boxing, so it'll say like Blue Style on there. That's our factory, and they don't change the name. We've actually implemented an 18 by 36 paver as well, which sells really like hotcakes. Again, the price point of that Italian paver is slightly higher than the Turkish. With all the tariffs, we're doing a lot of sourcing from Asia, but with the tariffs, we've kind of had to redirect some of the sourcing to Turkey to save on those tariffs. Same production, but hopefully the same cost, and nothing has increased. On more natural stone looks of porcelain pavers, it's kind of like an oxymoron, but we try to emulate natural stone with porcelain. We have this Praia Carrera. It's kind of like a marble look, and you're like, this is not going to work outside. But some people want to tie the inside look and get an outside vibe of the same kind of look. That one actually doesn't do terribly bad. Praia Crema, again, it emulates a Taj Mahal countertop. It's a unique coloration of the earth tone. On Praia Gray, that's more of a grayish tone. Again, unique to MSI. Quartzo Gray has a gritty type of surface on it. It's one of the best sellers. I'm surprised we haven't put it in a 16 by 32 yet. Tierra Beige and Tierra Ivory kind of emulate more of a Travertine look as well. Those are kind of like middle of the road kind of colors. They don't make a giant statement, but people do gravitate to those because it emulates Travertine. Concrete looks, they're still so popular. We brought in a dark color called Benton Anthracite, and a light look called Benton Blanco. But one of the best sellers is Benton Gray. It's just a great concrete look. We've actually introduced a 16 by 32 rectangular piece because that is so popular. It's one of the top sellers. Benton Sand, the earth tone. I don't know if it should be considered a concrete look, but for this presentation they put that in. Terrazzo Glacial and Terrazzo Grease are actually really popular products. I wish this would be a little bit more clear. I think I have another slide that shows Terrazzo Grease where it has like an exposed aggregate look, and it looks kind of like a modern look. I thought it looked like early Las Vegas or Palm Springs, where it's kind of like a throwback, but it's doing really well. So that's the Terrazzo look. So you can tell it has like an exposed aggregate. They call it the mid-century modern look. And again, we have the pool copings to match. Again, on all these pavers, we're talking only 2 cm thickness, which is 3/4 inch.
What, do they just have that set in gravel there?
It's photoshopped. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's probably sand, but they put gravel kind of like.
Well, are they set in mud or what? How are they?
That could have been photoshopped on that particular, because there's a lot of gravel, but yeah, it would be kind of unique to think that it was all sand set. But I'll ask the guys back in the marketing department if that is actually a sand set.
This is the typical 24 by 24 guy.
24 by 24 and 2 cm thickness.
It's weigh about 40 pounds a
Wood looks are still a big thing for us. I know Belgard, through Mirage has 50 different wood looks. Initially we had 12 by 24 wood looks, but we kind of expanded to 16 by 47. So the Caldera series, the Blanca, and the Koala and the Grisier are all from Spain, and they're 16 by 47, slightly over 5 square feet per piece. Super heavy. Lucas Betula and Lucas Canisha are 12 by 48 wood looks. And then the Palmwood Grease and Palmwood Walnut are 24 by 24 wood looks. So with Arterra, you get a lifetime warranty for permanent staining, mold or mildew, or discoloration, and a commercial warranty for 10 years. It truly is one of the big selling points. When people put in Travertine and feel it's like too dirty or gets too dusty, or they're too, you got millennials who don't want to, have all that cleaning or power washing. You just want to look at it and have it be self-cleaning. If we could do a self-cleaning porcelain, would be in the mix. But for this, we have, it's less and less, maintenance. So lifetime warranty, only on color fading, discoloration.
So you don't come out and clean it.
Yeah. We're big on California rooms, where you have like the indoor tile, and then it carries out to the court or backyard. And so MSI's developed these looks from Spain and Italy and Turkey, where you can get the inside tile and then the outside paver. Yep.
Okay, now how are they setting those down on the ground? How are they doing it?
On this,
Yeah.
you do mortar set or sand set.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how you set it as long as you buy the product. That works for me.
So you're telling me you set that in sand, huh? So
Yeah.
you're telling me you set that in sand just like a...
Sure, but for this, I don't know how they set it because I wasn't at the job site. And then if they photoshopped this and there was grass before, then there was dirt underneath. But honestly, this Yeah, we'll get into some of the installations in a couple more slides.
Well,
But
yeah,
I think-
that's kind of nice to know that stuff.
I know. For this thing, they want to show you that it's indoor as well. So when you're doing your indoor installs and someone says, "Hey, do you have a matching outdoor tile?" You're like, "Yes, I have 6. MSI has 6 colors that we can do indoor and outdoor." I mean, if they want it to match perfectly. So the 3/8 tile inside and then the wood planks outside. I have 6 of those to offer you. I'm sorry, 9 of them to offer you.
Well, I suppose on the inside, if you wanna do the outside, the exact same tile in and out, if you wanna spend money, right?
Yeah, but it has a different texture. Like the Pavers are a little bit more gritty, right?
Okay.
Like you can feel the difference inside. Because I asked that question too. Like, why not just use the tile outside? But if the DCOF is rated for the inside for that tile and you carry it outside, it might have a little bit different
Sure.
slip
I gotcha.
resistance on that. But people do ask because they're like, "I have a slab. What's the difference?" You know. But the Paver, perhaps being sandset on the outside, but in California, I see these people on the patio. They pour the slab, and they want the paver, and they just mortar set the paver on
Yeah,
top
right,
of that
right.
little slab.
Yeah.
And they're bigger areas. So on the website, if you're needing to supply an architect with specs and details, on the website there's an assortment of information, whether it be the PEI rating, the hardness of the product, so it could be used for commercial applications or not. There's shade variations. It gives you, the dynamic coefficient of friction, and basically lets you know if it's rectified or pressed. Perhaps breaking strength as well. And on here, if it says a DCOF it passed, or certain, if the threshold it passed. If some architect said, "I need the exact details," I'll be happy to send you my test results from TCNA or what have you, if they want to know the exact details. Again, we'll talk about the copings. Initially, we want to be ahead of the game and say, like, Mirage or Belgard, when you ordered the copings, you'd have to wait like 3 months because they were coming from Italy. And we wanted to stop that product. But our manufacturers, our factories, they didn't have the capability to do the pavers and the copings, so we outsourced the copings to a different factory in Italy. And, thought it was so simple, if they have the same raw materials in Asia or Turkey, that they could get the same raw materials in Italy to do that. But they come to find out they weren't exact matches.
Well, I've done that. I've set those granite on kitchen counters, and then the little coping that you could buy,
The bullnose.
bullnose, or
Yeah.
it's got a, I don't know,
Yeah,
design on it. The frickin' things are way off.
the way off.
Way off.
Right.
So the guy I was buying them from, I says, "Hey, I want to order a whole bunch extra so I could pick out the best ones and then bring the rest back." And then he started whining about that. So that was the end of that business,
Yeah,
because they were bad. A lot of them were way off.
yeah. I hate for that to be the deal breaker for porcelain pavers. When
Well,
someone wants to use a coping.
I know all that now.
Yeah.
So
And it could be, some people look at that, and I look at it like, "Oh my God, it doesn't look like it's even in the same ballpark." So we're having the factory send us 3 color samples. So light, medium, dark, and we're trying to choose which one we want, so we can kind of, more of a deep dive into why the factory can't manufacture an exact 100% match. So we say coordinating coping. And you're like, if the customer says, "I need it exactly 100% match," it'll never match 100%. And we're trying to get to that point.
well, these here were about, I don't know if they had to have been like 12 inches long. The tile was 24 by 24, and then the counter, and then these copings were, I think they were 12 inches long, and then outside corners, inside corners. But hey, I tell you what, you had
Yeah, there's something to be said too, because even on the Hedberg website, you guys put a disclaimer that if you order the porcelain at a different time, the pavers at this time, and another set of pavers at this time, there might not be a color match. So we prefer that the job be ordered all at the same time so we can identify the lot that's being shipped. Oftentimes people will be like, okay, I'm putting the pavers in here, and then when I get more money or I want to do another job, I'm going to do that. And sometimes, you know, the factories with porcelain, it doesn't match 100% of the time. It's almost like natural stone where, you know, there's variations and you're not always going to get that same part of the quarry or the same, you know, time, you know, that product was taken out. And porcelain's almost the same way. We're trying to develop it more or being more conscious of it where we are up front and tell the customer it's better, you know, if you're ordering and, you know, to know that I'm pulling this lot and I'm pulling from this lot. We need to know so the calibration is the same, and we need to know that the shade variation is the same, because within every container there could be like a threshold of, you know, on the way it's cut, it might not be 24 by 24, it could be off by a 1/16 of an inch. On the sizing and then the color variation, the factory should identify the actual shade that they're sending us. And in this container it's this shade, and if for some reason the next container is a shade lighter, they're going to identify that. When we talk about sand setting porcelain pavers, and it's such an enigma, because if every contractor could sand set a porcelain paver, we'd probably have $1 billion in sales, just in porcelain pavers. But that's the difficult part of porcelain pavers is finding the right installation. You know, we're talking about, you know, jobs that have a lot of radius. Porcelain pavers are hard to cut, and a radius job is difficult. You know, there's certain methods that you could recommend, whether you use a grinder or a gas saw, or you know, it's hard to put that paver in a wet saw and get that radius cut. So, you know, primarily, you know, we have a video online on a sand set installation. It's only a couple hundred square feet, but we talk about, you know, the base, about a 6-inch base of 3/4 crushed gravel and sand. That's what we do in California. Different areas have different methods. So we talked about, you know, what would be the most stable out here, whether it be a limestone. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit too.
Well, I think, and Jeff and I were talking earlier, I'm a big proponent of this stuff, using granite chips for your bedding. It seems to be more stable, and they don't move as much as they do in a traditional sand set where you've got a 4-inch, inch and a half limestone base and then an inch of sand and you set your table. Because number one, you don't really compact these in. There are roller compactors that Hedberg has available as attachments to your compactors. You can use it if you're going to do a traditional compaction. But typically, there's no compaction at the top layer. So I find that I have found, and people that visit them, what has worked out the best has been the granite chips for the bedding base. Now the sub base could be traditional limestone. There's a big movement in the paving industry now to go to clear base, almost like a permeable install, which is fine too. You're starting to see more and more of that, where you're putting people instead of the crushed base with fines, people are going to the clear base, inch and a half rock. Typically will suffice for most of your applications, because a vehicle application, 2 centimeter porcelain is not applicable for vehicle applications. Now in some markets now they're developing 3 centimeter and 4 centimeter porcelains, which are being used in vehicles. If you go to Europe, they do have porcelain vehicle applications. It hasn't matured to that market level here in the States yet. We've seen a lot of that. So for driveways and whatever, I know down south people are putting these down for driveways. I would not recommend it go here.
In SoCal, I go to job sites with the salespeople, and would only recommend on the driveway application on a mortar set. I've seen it. It's light vehicular traffic only. It's kind of unique. You know, I mean, they already have the slab pour, and it's a mortar set insulation, and they're using spacers on top because you never want that porcelain paver to hit. You know, you can't butt joint that thing. You know, it could chip and crack. So you want to always include spacers, whether you're sand setting it or mortar setting it. And one of the keys in the next slide is going to show that, you know, the spacers are a big deal. You know, have people that, you know, they're unfamiliar with the porcelain paver, and you know, if they're used to concrete pavers and everything's butt jointed, or travertine pavers, and when I show them the spacer, I actually had one guy put it on top, you know, to use it on top, but the spacer's designed to go underneath, and the pavers sit on the corners, and then it creates that grout joint for the polymeric sand. Its spacers are 4 millimeters, but it creates more, you know, stability, so you don't have that ligature of movement. But all, I guess, bottom line too, I mean, the sand compaction is critical. I mean, if we could find the perfect sand to, you know, compact, you know, it has to be compacted, you know, which is different than concrete pavers. Sand has to be compacted before you install that paver, before you put that spacer down. And I know that's the critical part. But if some guys think we're trying to upsell them on spacers, we're not.
Well, this spacer is just going to sit on top of the sand too.
They're gonna sit on top of the sand
I
too.
mean, this whole thing here is just scaring me to death. I wouldn't think we'd get involved with it for nothing.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can't imagine how, wow.
it's not for everyone. But if you master it, like I said, you could be the genius of, you know,
If that
of all
sand is
geniuses.
packed, and you know you got it, no voids, and you got it, well, you know, wow.
It's not an
You got
easy
a lot
process.
of nuts, I tell you.
I've seen it done, and I've tried to do it myself, and you know, it's not the easiest thing, but we talked about that.
Wow.
It's, you know, you get what you pay for. So if you're good, so we do sell the spacers.
As the market develops and you see more and more 3 and 4 centimeter porcelain products, you can pack top. So that takes away that argument.
But I know. If I would have told you in 1986 that there's a thing called the internet, you know, you might have run for the hills. You might not have invested in Facebook or Google or anything. And so, you know, when you're ahead of the time, it's kind of like you kind of learn as you go, you know. The first, you know, time I went on the internet, you know, you have the AOL, you have Netscape Navigator, the dial-up. I mean, it evolves. And so this process is evolving to a point where, like, I talk to contractors every day who have a different method. When I come into California, I go to the showroom and I see my buddy coming in, and he's going to buy porcelain pavers. I'm going, how are you going to set it? Mortar set it. Mortar set it. Mortar set it. I'm like, oh, you idiot, you know. He's buying the pavers, but I'm like, they're designed to be sand set. But he just wants to hurry up and get through the job. That's his comfort zone. And there's not a lot of comfort zone when you have to learn the hard way, when you have to cut a radius, or when you have to compact it, and the contractor or your boss is like, here, you figure it out. You're like, oh man, you know, there's got to be an easier way to do it. So we're always trying to find an easier way to do it. I'm just saying, if you don't include spacers when you're sand setting it, it's kind of like you're going down a rabbit hole now. We're not trying to upsell you, but they're not supposed to be butt jointed, and the paver might be a little bit more wobbly. This was a job. This is Paul Simon's house out in the Hamptons, and he, you know, the contractor was fine with just, you know, laying it on the concrete base. He had a concrete patio. He used the copings as a stair tread, and he cut the pavers to use as the riser. And these guys, I was so stoked. I went out there a couple years ago, and the contractor's putting those spacers on top, which is just a regular tile spacer, 1/16 inch, because he didn't want to butt joint it, which is smart. I mean, this guy was legit. He had the wet saw out there. I mean, this is humongous backyard, you know. And this guy felt that was the best way to do it. You know, if he could sand set it, he could sand set it. But this guy had enough money, you know. Maybe he bought a couple of Graceland downloads or something and paid for that.
So what's he doing for grout then? Just is that what you're...
Yeah, you can use polymeric sand, no big deal. It's already set there. So one of the biggest things, you know, I've talked to different competitors and people that are, you know, with Belgard, and they're now with different companies, and my boss is a big believer of channel drains. so the biggest problem with porcelain pavers is when you're trying to get the drainage. I mean, I've seen fools in Inception, you know, cut the paver like a pie, you know, to put a circular drain in there, but you have to cut the paver, you know, and you're like, oh my God. And then the circular drain, you gotta get this bit and everything's jacked up. It's like broken, and, you know, the paver looks like a, you know, disaster. But the channel drain's a perfect solution. The linear drain's a 4-inch drain. And so this contractor, he wanted me to come to his house and look at his work of art. You know, he did it, this pool in Yorba Linda, California. It's this tiny backyard, in $1 million house with a tiny backyard, typical of California. And the guy, you know, did his whole lot, his whole pool area with quartzo gray. And he ran that drain on the side. It's coming away from the house, and that drain is right there by the pool. I mean, he went crazy. He must have used about 100 blades, because he cut the pavers, you know, to do the stair treads. He did it to do the risers. He did it to do the wall cap. He even used it for the coping. I mean, this guy's my hero. You know, he was just a cutting fool. He didn't care. Yeah, but he's a contractor. He was patient. It was his own personal project. He wasn't like in a rush and had to get to the next job before he got fired. You know, so he took his time. But you can see, you know, there's value to that. And again, I showed you this one because he used the paver as the riser and the coping. Some people get, you know, when they say the coping that we manufacture doesn't match 100%. There could be alternatives where, you know, that's 3 cm. It could be the same, 2 cm, the same thickness as the paver, as the coping. You know, he just used the paver as like a modern edge. I know that doesn't work for everyone, but it's a thought.
Yeah, it's just a square cut there at the end. There's
Yeah.
no rounded, yeah.
Yeah,
But it matches though.
he made it match. He made it work. So you got to be kind of, you know, be like MSI, be innovative, think outside the box. I mean, we didn't, you know, just wind up on third base and think we hit a triple. You
That
know?
porcelain tile is not a problem up against the pool water.
No. The quartzo gray is one of the coolest ones because it has that grit surface. Very gritty. Very gritty.
So your product, paver, is the same material all the way through. So you can cut that and you might give a variation.
That's a good point. Certain colors, yes. Certain colors, no. Because we deal with 4 factories, right? We got Turkey, Asia, Spain, and Italy. So the Italian and the Spanish, for sure. And that product that you saw is from Asia. So that one, yes, but not all of them have that. Like the through body, the value engineering. Like if you want the Italian stuff and pay more for everything, like we wanted to, you know, get it to the mass markets and without overdoing it on price. Otherwise, it could be $40 a piece. So some of that's not a through body. You know, some of it's not, you know, baked all the way through in that particular. But you'll find in certain colors, yes.
Sample looks like this through body.
Right. Exactly. There's certain colors, like if you look at the gold and white, it might not be like the color on top, the print, because basically it's a print on top, right? So if it's like green and gold and a little bit of iron and this, and you look at the body, it might be gray. On certain.
Interior tile. It can't be either way, solid or, you know, like
Right.
you said, it's like the finished top is different than the inside. Put it
Right.
that way.
And some of the manufacturing, like, yeah, that one worked out perfect. And there's
Yeah.
certain grays that match exactly the same. So we talked about pedestal installations, a big market.
Before we get into that, one thing I want to mention is cutting. If you have some elaborate cutting to be done, or if you've got some radiuses, which you typically don't see a whole lot of radius work in porcelain, but if people want to use porcelain and they got some radius work that needs to be done on that, you've got Hedberg to fall back on. We've got that saw shop here. And I know they would be glad if you guys have templates for pre-cut pieces for it. So if you talk to the Hedberg people, I'm sure they can give you pricing on that, and it might be that it's more effective or not effective than cutting actually for you guys to do it on site. Just
Right
a
on.
thought.
Yes, absolutely. Pedestal installations, you don't get those jobs all the time, but when you do, Arterra pavers can be installed on raised pedestal installation. This installation option is beneficial for installations where you need to run cabling or piping under the pavers or on top rooftop to create a deck without affecting the waterproofing of the roof. Installation should be completed in accordance with the pedestal manufacturer's instructions with additional requirements. To ensure even load distribution and safety, MSI requires the positioning of a pedestal underneath the center of each paver. The spacer fin should be removed from the top of the pedestal. It's just a security for us, an extra pedestal. If for some reason you say, nah, that's overkill, fine. It's just our recommendation, but sometimes that load, if someone drops something in the middle and it breaks through, if they're dropping a pony keg or some type of heavy object, a bowling ball in the middle, and it shatters, and they have that pedestal in the middle, perhaps it can provide more structure, a little bit better stability. The company that we recommend is Bison. We don't stock that product, but if your customer's looking to purchase pedestals, we can do a takeoff for you. If you have a large rooftop application, Mike can contact me. We have a team that will reach out to Bison and say, okay, this guy's 2,700 square feet. He's about 2 feet high on the pedestal. How many pedestals does he need? And if you're like, hey, dude, I don't want the middle pedestal, fine. We don't need to do that. We don't need to pile on. It's up to you if you want that. The Bison is a pedestal. It's kind of pricey, but it's the best that we've seen, where it adjusts without, you don't have to remove the paver to adjust the height on that. So it comes in handy. It's less labor intensive, but that whole process is definitely expensive. You want to contact Mike if you need pricing on Bison pedestals. Back in California, in Murrieta, going down towards San Diego, they did this Marriott, and I was pretty stoked because the contractor, I guess it couldn't find, it was sold by our branch in Arizona, and they took a team up from Arizona to go do this particular job. So on the rooftop, he's drawing his lines, he's using a laser level, he's putting down the pedestals, and it's a pretty big job. It looks very foreign if you're not familiar with the process.
Oh, they attaching those to the grate or the floor.
to the floor. It looks like they're just sitting down there. That they're not secured at all.
Really?
Right?
Just gravity.
Just gravity. Yeah.
You've got the weight of the porcelain versus the wind that's up there. Also, the roofing contractor has got it engineered with the structural insulation. That's something that if somebody contacts you, you want to make sure you talk to a roofing specialist to make sure that the insulation they have there, because if it isn't the structural, over time it will settle and you can cause the cover stuff to fail. So it's good to get a bunch of people involved if it's an existing project, but on new ones it's usually engineered that way.
Interesting.
Hedberg sells the Bison system too.
Yeah.
Which I know that you've done a number of residential.
Done a Crave restaurant.
Did the Crave restaurant, and then I was on with Tim at a couple of residential jobs last year. Where they did the walkout patio, and they did that on pedestals for whatever reason. They used the pedestal system. So,
It's interesting that you talk about existing structures. We sold, $10,000, $20,000 worth of pavers for a hotel in Long Beach, and the place had been around for 100 years. And it was a pool contractor that actually purchased it from our building yard that we sell to, and he was doing the installation. And perhaps I'll go check it out. But that's interesting to note. Like, there's so much new construction around this area with apartments or multi-use structures that this is a new thing. I mean, I would encourage you to look at whatever permits are being pulled and to find out what projects, because these are home run jobs. Even if you're not familiar with that process, if you subcontract it out or find someone that has experience in doing that, you know, these jobs are quite expensive. And I thought, like, why would anyone do that? That seems so stupid to put that up, but it's for entertainment purposes, and you get your money back pretty quickly.
So why are they raising that floor up that freaking high?
Yeah,
They have utilities that go underneath it.
exactly.
There may be venting or duct work or.
There's a lot of duct work.
Cable work or whatever.
I took about 50 photos of that. So there's a giant slope that goes from, you know,
Oh.
there all the way down, and like you said, there's ventilation right there, and there's, you know, plumbing and different, you know, around here. I didn't take a picture of everyone. There might be one on the next
So
slide.
what actually is that floor in there then?
It's just
What is that, concrete or what?
Concrete.
That one doesn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was just, you know, part of the return. I mean, this job went on forever. So obviously they cut the pieces on the side, but that's how unique looking. There's a gap in between for drainage.
Yeah, right.
If you go to Fargo, a lot of the developments up there are office towers or whatever. They've gone to this for the roof deck or up with the top deck where the clientele can go up there and have lunch or whatever. So it becomes a usable space for them. It's a big market right now.
Right.
It's emerging.
The usable space is the
Usable
key.
space.
It's usable space now. Before, it's like a place where you go, you know, smoke the weed or get your girl, you know, go violate someone upstairs. But now, you know, it's all about drinking, you know, whiskey, and, you know, up there. It's totally
I'd like to walk in that and see how solid that feels.
Well, it's solid.
Oh, it is.
So from time to time, I might get a phone call where the guy dropped a keg, you know, on a paver or something,
yeah,
and
right.
it broke, it busted.
Yeah.
I haven't got that call like in 6 months, but it would be good, you know, to have a couple extra pieces lying around. But you know, who cares? You know, it might be a couple pieces from time to time that break.
Porcelain is pretty tough. I think I've only replaced one interior tile.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
It was a 12 by 12 and it had a crack in it. And I don't know how it ever happened, but I, you know, cut it out and put a new one.
Right. Like
That stuff is very tough.
It
That
is.
takes a heck of a punishment.
That's the beauty of porcelain.
Yeah.
For years, people were doing concrete decks, and they still are.
Yeah.
But there's maintenance after that. So
Oh, yeah.
Sealing and cleaning and all kinds of issues that go on with concrete that are all very well aware of. I'm excited about this porcelain product because there's no callbacks.
And
There are
the-
very few.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah, these guys don't call me and tell me what happened. They just say, "Can you bring me a piece?" They don't tell me exactly, you know, if there's like an elephant, you know, or, you know, some 320-pound, you know,
Well-
something going on upstairs. I don't know.
My two houses are filled with porcelain tile.
I mean, how many of you guys here from AP, they do tons of papers. What's the number one issue with people with their expectations? It's efflorescence. You know, 30 years ago when I got in this business, everybody understood efflorescence. Nobody understands it anymore, and they think it's a defect in the paper. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
It's part of the concrete process. But nobody understands it anymore, and of course they just spent $30,000 on an install, and their papers are efflorescent, and they want to take care of it. You don't have that issue with porcelain.
I know I talked about this last year, and anything new, you know, the labor costs, you know, the not being familiar with the porcelain, and it's kind of like a learning curve on this. You know, everyone does the concrete pavers, they're so familiar in the cutting, and then the natural stone is a little bit more expensive, but it's still easy to cut and easy to install. And you got this new hybrid product of porcelain, and we're still trying to find out, and I'm still learning, you know, different techniques and you know, how people want to do it. And okay, fine, you know, buy the product and however you want to install it. You don't know how to install it, you can sub it out, you know. But architects are going to be speccing this left and right. So as long as they know where to get the product, and if people don't want to install it, then that's on them. I can't, you know.
Well, you go buy the highest price tile saw blade that you can frickin' buy.
Sure, and we can.
That's the way to do it.
Right, we're going to talk about that after that. So online, I have an installation video. If you go to YouTube, hit MSI or Arterra porcelain pavers, it gives a 4-minute video. And it's pretty basic, and it's Sunset, but it gives you an idea of the process of what we're recommending and how to set it. You know, I use a wet saw back at the shop to cut my samples. I run the 24 by 24 paver in there. It takes me about a minute to cut. That's a 10-inch blade, and I'll show you a picture of the blade after, but I mean, there's so many different methods. We were talking, I've seen guys cut it with grinders on the job site, you know, on that one rooftop, I seen a guy cutting it freehand. It was just like straight as an arrow. I've seen Belgard guys at trade shows cut it with a circular saw, you know, when they don't have water available. And, you know, we had the great opportunity to see Dude last year cut it with the grinder here, and that was awesome. You know, it's IQ produces manufactures a saw that costs like $2,000 and it's a dry cut with the vacuum system, and they say that's the, you know, cat's meow. Everyone has like a new, you know, method, and you know, by and large, when you're doing jobs that have a radius, it's just gonna be difficult. Whatever, you know, you talk about a gas powered saw, which is big on the East Coast. Like those guys, that's all they want to use. So every market has their own, you know, we were just taught in the beginning to use a wet saw, but you know, I've seen guys, like in Virginia or something, they were using this old saw from like the 30s, and it was like a 14-inch blade, and it was just sparking and flaming everywhere. I'm like, wow, that doesn't look like it's very safe or smart, but no matter what you teach, people will do whatever they want to do, whatever's convenient. Or
It works for 'em.
Yeah, it works for them, or inexpensive.
The guy that's putting the porcelain flooring in my house, we were talking about, he doesn't cut it all, he just scores it and snips it.
And we were looking at that too. I had a guy come out because we're trying to test all the products, and this guy from Ruby came out. He was using that score and snap on my paver, and it's, you know, 2cm. He thought he could do it, and I brought him some pavers, and he screwed up every single one. Then he cut one that was halfway decent, but there was still a little line that I could see. And I'm like, that would be a great idea because it's mobile. You don't have to, you know, have a wet, you know, water around and electricity and what have you. But still hasn't been perfected on that system. That's score and snap.
Score and snap a porcelain tile.
Yeah,
Is that what you just said?
Floor tile.
the 3/8.
Well,
Not-
normal
not-
floor tiles.
It's a normal floor tile, they do it all the time. These are a little thicker, so.
Yeah, I mean,
No way.
Don't say no way, Tim.
Well, yeah, even a machine in a trailer.
yeah. Right. So I met this guy, and he's like, says he's the manufacturer of all these famous blades, and everyone else just puts their name on them. But it's a hybrid blade. It's not a segmented blade, and it's not a continuous blade like you use for tile. This is like a mesh blade. It's like a hybrid blade, and they, you know, I've used it before, and this is the blade I would recommend, but I don't know if it's the cure-all. You know, if I still see some fraying from time to time on the cutting. 10-inch blade on the wet saw, you know, that's my recommendation. You have to drop $70, or you know, for a 10-inch blade on that sucker, and you know, it's not cheap, and it's not going to last forever. If you're going to use it for 3 jobs, you're, you know, delusional. It might be good for one job, depending on how many cuts you're doing at that specific job. But these are 2 of the companies that you know, sell, Diamond Professional sell a hybrid blade like that. It's called a Phoenix, or you got Pearl with that P4, and then the Ruby with that Viper 10. It's like that hybrid style. So they give you all kinds of, it's like bells and whistles that, you know, it's the greatest thing. The downloads that we have available on the website, if you need details, if you want brochures, if you want specs, if you want the warranty, if you want to revisit the installation guide for mortar set or driveway or sand set, it's on there. The porcelain, the pedestals guide is on there as well. I have an assortment of DCOF testing. If people think it's slippery, but at the end of the day, you know, if it's your family and they got 5-year-olds running around and you think it's slippery, then maybe that's not for them. We want them to be safe at the end of the day. So I know we talked a lot about porcelain pavers. I have a lot of information. If you need it for your customers or for architects, reach out to Mike. I have chipboards available. I have displays and brochures for you to hand out if that helps you get more sales. One thing, you know, the backbone of our landscape department, even though porcelain pavers is taking off, it's Rockmount stack stone panels. The 1 square foot 6 by 24 panels. We have 60 colors in the collection. They can be used indoors and outdoors. Out of the 100 million that we do in landscape, at least 50 million ledger stone, stack stone, and they're used for interiors as well as exteriors. Fireplace, accent wall, bathroom, office, whatever. You got hospitality, commercials, places like hotels and eateries, establishments, restaurants. Everyone uses ledger panels, so that's still the backbone. We have 60 colors. There's a variety of textures and surfaces and all the buzzwords from grayish to modern and contemporary. We have earth tones, sandstones. We have entry-level price points that people are doing commercial jobs and they don't want to break the bank. We have stuff from India or Asia that could suffice. There's corners for all the products, so it's an L corner that's designed. I know from time to time we're doing separate pieces due to factory constraints. Even with the coronavirus now, there might be a little bit of production issues, so we might tell them, there might be less quantity of the corners available, but we'll do our best to produce that. Again, there's 60 colors. There's something for everyone. If someone's looking for a ledger panel, they can't find it in our collection, then maybe we'll bring it in from. I'm just kidding. There's a lot. There's 60 colors. Alaska Gray is a contemporary look. One of our best sellers. So much so that we had to bring in another Alaska Gray 3D. I thought I saw that stocked over here. There's a little bit in the back. Alaska Gray multi-finish that has like a bush hammered, a scraped, a honed, a split face, all on one panel. All the popular colors, whether it be earth tones or just monotone colors or whites. There's a little bit of everything. Grays and beiges and browns. There's a whole selection. California Gold is one of the best-selling colors. It's a slate, one of the most popular. Again, there's a handful of surfaces and textures. If someone says we want a limestone, I have a Fresca limestone from Turkey. If they want a more modern look, I have a gray oak 3D. It's a honed look with a 3D, kind of like a 3D popping effect. Kind of a more modern look. I know you guys here at Hedberg have sold everything from golden white to Alaska Gray to California Gold, Sierra Blue. I even saw a couple of years ago you sold a lot of Philadelphia, which is a Travertine. It's kind of like a beige look, a little bit textured surface on there. You guys have sold Philadelphia, so that's good. That's one of the newer colors. So again, we could run through the whole collection, but I know we don't have that much time left. Sierra Blue is again a popular color. If you need to see samples, reach out to Mike. We can provide you with samples. A silver travertine is one of the top sellers. Again, contemporary colors, modern look. People want the whites and grays. Silver travertine's not the least expensive, but it's the most popular.
By far?
By far.
I mean, sell, I have to go back and recap the sales of it. 25% of the butt, everything is sold in Rockmount. Minimum sold there.
Sure.
At least here.
Sure. If you want a list of the top colors, I could send it to you. On the website, we have, again, an assortment of information. So if you go to the website and go to Hardscape tab, you'll find ledger panels that are suitable for indoor or outdoor. There's a usage chart. We actually have an installation guide for exterior buildings. Basically, it says go to your local code. California or whatever. I mean, if you're going 10 feet high, you're going over 10 feet, you might need some special, some structural, some security, whether it be, some ties or some, you might not be able to, inspector might not let you go over 10 feet in the residential area if it's over 15 pounds per square foot. I don't know what all the regulations are here. There's, believe it or not, I know if you're in the business for 30 years, you don't need that. Know how to estimate linear footage for corners, but some people need to know that. So we have a flyer online that shows you how to estimate corners in case you got some new people inside that not familiar with that process. Of course, the merchandising for Stackstone. We invest in displays like the 60 piece display, collateral like brochures and flyers. If you need stuff, let Mike know. We can provide that for you. I can help him with that. Again, displays. We have in California, we like to put these metal frame displays 6 feet high, 4 feet wide, and we put these display boards on there to give the customer kind of a better view of like the variation. We put 2 pieces on there. It does well for us, whether it be in Baltimore or Arizona. Certain customers like to have these. On thin veneer, loose veneer, I know that's probably your guys' specialty at Hedberg. We kind of dabbled in that. We still have inventory, and it doesn't. It's not one of the major parts of our product line, but we do carry an assortment of veneers. And I know at one point we were trying to partner up with Hedberg and get you guys, some unique products like the Temple Gray and London or Newport. And we may have dropped the ball on the Temple Gray due to our factory not being able to produce it. But there's still opportunities with other colors, including some silver loose veneer, beige loose veneer, walnut loose veneer that we've added to our collection. Again, I talked about pebbles a little bit before, but it's a market, do about $50 million in pebbles. Pebble, I know, who knew, right? Who would have thunk? I mean, but every sector,
Bags and rocks.
Really?
everyone has like their specialty. I'm sure Hedberg does well with pebbles, right? I'm sure you have an assortment of pebbles. A building yard seems like that's like one of the foundations of pebbles, right? Do you guys sell an assortment of pebbles? So that's something, you're saying, hey, I like your pricing, I like your packaging, I like your, the bulk aspect of it. I'd like to talk to you guys about that. We actually, for the consumer, we'll put down how many square feet you can get per bag based on how thick the depth is on that application.
Should be easy to go down, just throw them out and rake them in, huh?
Yeah, but like the 2-inch or the 3-inch don't sit that flat. So if you stack them, you get less square footage. The little guys, the little pebbles sit more flush, so you can kind of smash them down. And why overkill it at 2 inches if you can cover the base at like 1 inch? But sometimes the pebbles aren't designed like that.
That's what our customers will do. We sell a lot of the Mexican beach pebbles, which is kind of like gray black.
Yeah.
They'll use 2 inches of 1/4 inch trap rock or 2 inches of 3/4 as a base.
Yes.
And then when they land a 1 or 2 inch layer of the beach pebbles on
Yeah.
top of it, it looks like it's the full amount.
It's thick, yeah. We're doing a knockoff of Mexican beach. We're getting it from India. So we're putting it in a 40-pound bag. It's 1 to 3 cm, which is like 3/4 inch to 1.25 inches. But you can see it's,
We stock the 1, 2, 2, 3, and 3 to 5s.
right. You can never have enough Mexican beach. We're doing a larger size, like 3 to 6. I mean, that stuff sells like hotcakes in all over the country. It's just like by the time you freight it over here, it's like $20 a bag. So if we can outsource it, at some point I'd like to forward a bag of each size, and you can look and say, okay, your price sucks. Let me know whatever my cost is to you. If you're like, you need to grind it down a little bit, there could be some wiggle room. But I don't know, I'd like to compare the Mexican beach quality to our quality.
People are looking for other colors, and it's nice to see that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, I'm showing you all the all the polished pebbles here. So, whether it be black or like the Mexican beach, most of them are polished except for that one. But I'm bringing in 3 new SKUs of unpolished to rival the Mexican beach because, there's so much pebble in Mexico. It's like it doesn't run out apparently. You could get the couple of truckloads with a couple of loads of something else, I suppose. But that stuff doesn't go away. So we're sourcing it now from India, and you can look at it and you're like, this is garbage. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you see the price point is nice, you can make that decision. Why overpay for the Mexican beach if you can get that value from India? So that kind of wraps up my presentation for our products. I'd like to open it up to any questions you may have. regarding any of the products from Porcelain Pavers to ledger panels. Not too much. Not too much. I know in the past, I've asked, for any feedback. If you have any feedback of, what we can do or what you think, Porcelain Pavers. I know we talked about, talked to some of you about, our, what works for you, what doesn't. Like, I know the installation method of porcelain is still, an enigma. But if you have some recommendations, let me know. Reach out to Mike, and we'd be happy to, entertain anything.
Yeah, if you haven't used it, or you want to think about it, you got a job where it might be used, get a hold of the guys here in Hedberg, and for your first job, we'll work with you on it to get it in. But
Sure.
I think you can help you get it off the ground.
If you have questions, we also have lunch ready, and let you go if you want to get.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys showing up.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thank you.